Hello everyone, this is Sahana, your social science tutor from Vista's Learning. Today, we're going to deal with our very first chapter in history, which is the advent of Europeans to India. So, I welcome you all once again for the overview class of this particular chapter, that is the advent of Europeans to India. Firstly, we'll see what all we'll be discussing today. So, the topics to be discussed in this particular session are, the trade and commerce relationship India had with Europeans, obviously because we're studying about European countries coming to India, right? So, that is one thing. And the arrival of Europeans to India for the purpose of trade, okay? So, the arrival of Europeans to India for trade and the Carnatic Wars, and then Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, and dual government system. So, what is dual government system? These are the topics which I'll be covering in this particular session, and I'll be completing the chapter. Understood? Now, students, one question for you. How did this all start? Why did this all start? And when did this all start? Do you have an idea? By the way, what do you mean by advent of Europeans to India? Advent is nothing but arrival. Okay, so arrival of Europeans to India. For what purpose? For trading purpose. You all know we were very rich in spices, students. So India was very rich in spices, the pepper, cloves, cardamom, cinnamon. So we were rich in spices. Whereas Europeans lacked in spices. They didn't have spices there. Which is why for the purpose of trading for spices, they came to India and they had trade with India. This was the reason why this started. But there was one incident which happened, that is nothing but the fall of Constantinople in the year 1453. So in the year 1453. So the fall of Constantinople happened which year? So in the year 1453. This is very, very important. Now, what is Constantinople? Constantinople is a place. So, it's the capital city of Rome. Okay. So, this was called as the center for trading. So, it was the international center for trading. So, whatever trade happened used to happen via this place, Constantinople. But one fine day, this incident happened where there was fall of Constantinople. And how did that happen? Because the Ottoman Turks captured the city Constantinople. So when the Ottoman Turks captured this particular place, all the powers were under Ottoman Turks. So the trade what was happening there was also under Ottoman Turks. And obviously when they had power, they told all the traders there to give more taxes for each and every good which used to pass via Constantinople. And the traders there could not give so much money, could not pay so much taxes, and the trade was unprofitable. But the other European rulers, they did not sit quiet. They did not tell, okay, only Constantinople is the place, this is only the center, so we cannot do trade again. So that was not their intention. Okay, what did they do? Meanwhile, other rulers in the sense, other European rulers, okay, they started encouraging to find a new sea route to India. They did not sit quietly, they were not idle. They came up with this very brilliant idea of finding out new sea route to India. And during this time only, the compass, astrolabes, and gunpowder was also introduced. So these three things were also invented during this time. Obviously, all these three things helped them in finding out new sea routes. As you all know, this is compass, which is helping in showing the directions, right? And this is astrolabes. So this helps in finding out the altitudes of the celestial bodies, the latitudes, so all of those things. And ultimately, the last one is the gunpowder, which you can see here. Gunpowder is used in explosives. So obviously, they wanted explosives then, so to travel. So all these three things was invented during this time. And they were also finding out new sea routes. Ultimately, this encouraged them to find out new sea routes. So this is how they found out new sea routes. Now, what do you think, students? Were they successful in finding out the new sea routes? Yes, they were successful in finding out the new sea routes to India, which happened in the year 1498. And it was none other than Vasco da Gama. So he was the one who found out the new sea route to India. So he left Lisbon, which is there in Portugal. I'll show you in the map, don't worry. So, and reached Kapadu near Calicut, that is in India. So he is Vasco da Gama. I think you all know him. You've seen him. So this is Vasco da Gama who found out the new sea route to India. And he left here in Lisbon. This is in Portugal. From Lisbon, he reached, you can see this black mark, no? This black route, what you can see, arrow route, what you can see is the way, in this way he traveled and he came to India. That is Kapadu in Calicut. You can see it here. And this was the route which he found. Understood? Yes, so it is Vasco da Gama. Please remember this because it is very, very important. Then, hence the Portuguese, obviously he was from Portugal, which is why this credit goes to Portuguese. So the Portuguese were thus the first ones to re-establish trade between India and Europe. Why am I using this word re-established? Because I already told you while I was doing the introduction that trade was happening. But just because there was fall of Constantinople, there was a pause. Understood? Again, Vasco da Gama was the one who introduced this new sea route, which is why I am telling it as re-establishing. Again, he found out one new sea route and trade started. Understood? So then, now Portuguese came in and they started doing trade. So we'll see what actually happened when the Portuguese came. So that is the Portuguese. So after Vasco da Gama came, next person who came was Francisco de Almeida, who arrived in India as the Viceroy of Portuguese. So Vasco da Gama came, he found out the new sea route and he told this is India. Then who came? Then was Francisco de Almeida. So you can see the image here. So he is Francisco de Almeida. What did he do? He implemented this policy which is called as Blue Water Policy. Now what is this Blue Water Policy? Blue Water Policy is nothing but having the supremacy over water, that is over sea. Now how we'll fight these days that this place is mine, this site is mine. We want supremacy over land. The same way they wanted supremacy on water then, and they were very successful until they are dying. So until they were there in India, so this was very successful, which policy he implemented. So the Blue Water Policy which he implemented was very successful. So they had that supremacy over water. Understood? Next. After him, who came was Alfonso de Albuquerque. Okay, so waged a battle against the Sultan of Bijapur in 1510 and won Goa. So this was their criteria to win Goa. They waged a war against him and they won it. Obviously, they were stronger when compared to Sultan of Bijapur then. Now, can you guess who was the Sultan of Bijapur in 1510? I'll show you the image, so let me see whether you can guess it. So he is Alfonso and he waged a war against him, Sultan of Bijapur. So he is none other than Adil Shah. Okay, so Yusuf Adil Shah, his name is. So he was the Sultan then, but he couldn't win over Portuguese and he gave Goa to them. Understood? After coming and conquering Goa, after all of these things, Portuguese were there for almost 100 years and did trade here in India. But after the arrival of English and French, there was a decline. Okay, so this is what I've given here. But their power declined with the arrival of English and French in India, because obviously they were more powerful than Portuguese. So until then, they were ruling, like very nicely, and the trade also was happening very nicely until the French and English came. So this is about the Portuguese. So it was not the end here. Other European countries also came. Okay. So we'll see which is that. The next one is the Dutch. So here I'll be talking about the rise and decline of the Dutch in India, which happened in the year 1602. Okay. So Dutch East India Company Center came to India and established trading centers in many places, including Kerala. So why have I highlighted here Kerala? So they did it in many places, the East India companies. That was the reason why they came. They wanted to establish their East India companies, all the European countries. Okay. But why have I highlighted Kerala here? Because the king here in Kerala did not allow the Dutch to conquer his place. That strong he was. Who is that king? He is none other than Raja Martanda Varma of Vineyard, who ruled from 1729 to 1758. So he was a very strong king and he did not allow Dutch to have control over his place, and also he sent them back. Okay, so that credit goes to Raja Martanda Varma. So he is Raja Martanda Varma. Understood? Next, what he did is, he shifted his capital from Padmanabhapura to Thiruvanantapura. Okay, so this was his capital, but he wanted to become even more stronger to send the Dutch out of India, which is why he shifted his capital and he named it as World Travancore Province. Okay, once he did this, what did the Dutch do? They, in the year 1741, the Dutch declared war on Travancore. That is this place, his province. Okay, so they waged war against this province, that is against the king. What will be the result? Do you know what was the result? Obviously, he won. That is what I told you that time. No? So he was that strong, he won. And in 15 August 1753, so in this year, on this date, a treaty was signed and the Dutch forces surrendered its power. So he did not let them simply go like that. He asked them to sign the treaty, surrender everything what they conquered from us, and then he asked them to leave. So that is about the rise and decline of Dutch in India. All credit goes to this person, who is Raja Martanda Varma, the strongest king ever. Understood? So this is one of the European country, that is the Dutch. Next, who will come? Next is the English. Okay, so the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. Why have I written this here? So he was the one who gave this royal permission for the English to come and build their warehouses or the factories in India in a place called Surat. Okay, so he is the man who asked English to come to India. So he is the Mughal Emperor Jahangir for you. So he gave this royal invitation for them to come and build warehouses or factories in Surat. Okay, next, in 1617, Sir Thomas Roy, okay, so he arrived at the court of Jahangir, to his court, as the royal ambassador of British. So simply he did not arrive. He proposed in front of him that I want to build more factories in different places of India. This was his proposal. And Jahangir, so the Mughal Emperor Jahangir, also agreed for that. So not only in Surat, because of his permission, the British were able to build in many other places also. So see here, the English established factories at Agra, Ahmedabad, and also in Broch because of his permission. So this is how they started establishing and expanding their empire. Understood? Next, by the end of 17th century, the English had established Bombay, Madras is today's Chennai, and Calcutta as the centers of their presidencies. Okay. After this, by the end of 18th century, they made Calcutta as their capital also. So all this happened. Understood? So that is about the English. Next comes the French. So these were the last ones. What happened in French is French East India Company was established in the year 1664. Okay, so remember these dates. It's very important, students. So which is why I've highlighted, again I'm highlighting it. So it's very, very important, okay. So its first factory was at Surat in the year 1668. So even British also, their first factory was in Surat, and even French also, their first factory was in Surat only. Okay, don't get confused. Both of them was in Surat itself, okay. Next, in 1674, the French took Valikandapuram, okay, from a local Muslim official and developed it as the major trade center. This is Valikandapuram and this is present Pondicherry. Okay, so this place is nothing but today's Pondicherry. So they took it from one local Muslim official and they made that as their major trading center. So even today also in Pondicherry, you can see this French colony, which is very, very beautiful. So if you have chance, please go and visit there. It's really nice, okay. Next, Dupleix, who arrived to Pondicherry in 1746 as the Governor General of the French. So he is Dupleix for you. So he arrives to Pondicherry as the Governor General of the French. Why have I mentioned this here? Because he'll arrive with desires. What was his desire? His desire was to conquer the entire south of India and become strong in South India. That was his desire. With that desire, he comes to Pondicherry and his desire will lead to the competition between the English and the French. The desire of Dupleix will lead to the competition between English and the French. And the result of this competition is nothing but the Carnatic Wars. So you have 3 Carnatic Wars which happened. So the first Carnatic War was from 1746 to 1748. Second Carnatic War was from 1749 to 1754. And the third Carnatic War was from 1756 to 1763. So this is very important, the dates. So there were 3 Carnatic Wars. What was the result? So these wars happened between the English and the French. So what was the result? Who won? Either the French or the British? The English. Obviously, it was the English who won this battle or this war, okay? So everything what French had conquered was taken by the, obviously by the British people, except Pondicherry, because in the year 1763, okay, I'll show you the image first. Yeah, so this is the Carnatic Wars. So in the year 1763, there was a treaty signed, okay, between English and French. There was a treaty signed which is called as Treaty of Paris, okay. So which was called as Treaty of Paris. I'll just write it. Okay, which is called as Treaty of Paris. According to this Treaty of Paris, for French, Pondicherry actually has to belong to them according to this Treaty of Paris. So which is why the British gave only Pondicherry to them. Rest all was conquered by the British, obviously. So the French had to give everything. They lost all their power, including manpower, gave everything to the British and left India. So that is about the Carnatic Wars, okay. Now all this happened, everybody, all the other European countries left and only English settled down in India now. Now came the fight. What was the fight? They came and they settled down. But the actual challenge came here. That challenge is nothing but the British rule in India. Okay, so the next challenge is the British rule in India. So they had to fight here with our kings to conquer their places. Okay, so that was the thing. That is the British rule in India concept is all about. So in that process, there were 2 wars which was fought. That is Battle of Plassey in the year 1757 and next one is Battle of Buxar, which you can see here in the year 1764. Okay, so the main thing for Battle of Plassey, why did it start is the British wanted to conquer Bengal, and the Nawab then, the king then of Bengal was Siraj-ud-Dawla. Understood? So Battle of Plassey was fought between Siraj-ud-Dawla and British, and obviously British won. And whereas the Battle of Buxar, it was fought between the British and Mir Qasim. So basically it all started to conquer Bengal. But by the end of Battle of Buxar, what happened was they conquered Bengal along with Bihar and Odisha. So just they wanted Bengal, but they also conquered the other two states after these two battles. Ultimately the British only won, we lost, and we had to give back all our powers and our states. So that was the result of these two wars. Understood? Yes. So lastly, we'll study about the dual government in Bengal. So now they have conquered Bengal. I told you, they've conquered Bengal, and there was this concept which arrived all of a sudden, which is called as dual government, which was initiated by Robert Clive in the year 1765. He brought in this concept called as dual government. So he is Robert Clive. So he discovered this, he introduced this. Okay, now what is this policy is nothing but, as per this dual government, the British had the right to collect land taxes. Okay, so the British had the right to collect all the land taxes, whereas the Nawab had the power over administrative issues like justice and others. So the king was there, and he used to take care of all this administration things and justice, giving justice, law, order, all of these things. But the very important part, the taxes of land were collected by the British. But over a period of time, when they conquer any state, the laws, justice, administration, collecting the taxes, everything was done by the British itself. But this is the concept of dual government. Okay, so dual is two. So even Indians were included in that. Even these British also were included in that. So that is why it was called as dual government. At the end of the day, the advantage was theirs only. Okay, so this is about dual government. So here I complete the chapter, and till now we have learnt about trade and commerce relationship India had with the Europeans, the arrival of Europeans to India for trade. We learnt about the Carnatic wars and the result of that, Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, the result of that and between whom it was fought, all this we learnt. And lastly, we learned this concept which is called as dual government system. Any doubts you have till here? No, right? So this is the chapter, the advent of Europeans to India. So it's as simple as that, students, and it is very, very important chapter from the exam point of view. Please don't skip. And I'm here standing as the social tutor from Vista's Learning. We are here to provide quality education for all of you out there from class 1 to class 12. For more such videos, stay tuned to Vista's Learning. Take care. Bye-bye.